Enphase is going to be reporting earnings tomorrow. That is Tuesday, April 26th, after hours. I'll be live for those to give you my live reaction to those earnings, as well as Alphabet's or Google's, Microsoft's, and many others. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell to get notified when I go live if you want to see my reactions to them as those earnings roll in. But tomorrow, the expectation is that earnings are going to come in at 66 cents per share. Revenue is expected to be around $432 million. And that is actually really good for a company that's dedicated to renewable energy and just solar in general, especially because when we look at some of the other ones like Plug Power, for example, who's still reporting losses and has mounds of debt to get over. In this environment, that's a really tough thing to a really tough pill to swallow, especially if you're an investor in renewable energy because of the rising interest rate environment. That's going to stunt growth, especially for companies that continually need to go into debt in order to grow. The higher interest rates go up, the more it affects your bottom line, and investors don't like that. Enphase, however, is in a little bit more of a better spot as far as reporting earnings, and they're making money. Again, 66 cents per share, $432 million and some change. As far as revenue is concerned, they're well on their way. So there's a couple of things here that I think are going to be really important for Enphase to address. One of them is obviously rising commodity costs. That could be a tailwind for Enphase. And I'm talking about energy in general when it comes to fossil fuels, coal, everything's going up, right? And that's where demand could rise for something like Enphase and renewable energy in general. Well, you look at the other side of this, and the headwinds are that inflation's going up, materials cost more now, and so is Enphase able to overcome those and that the headwinds don't necessarily stunt them enough to as far as the tailwinds are concerned, and they're able to overcome some of the challenges that the company and the industry is facing right now. Let's take a look at the chart right now on where Enphase is. You can see that it has struggled here over the last couple of days, but it's really kind of reacted with the rest of the market. It came down to $113 earlier in the year, and then obviously corrected down with the rest of the market as well back on February 24th. Everybody remembers that day. And it's done really well ever since. And with the rising costs of oil and energy in general, I think that Enphase stands to be in a really good spot here. In my opinion, this is actually probably a pretty good spot to maybe consider scooping up some Enphase before earnings. And listen, I want to preface this by saying that buying stocks before earnings and trying to play the earnings is a very risky game. Some would even say that this is kind of like a 50-50 shot. However, given the correction that this has had just recently, I mean, we're looking at this just this month, April 5th. This was sitting at 221. It's trading at 156 right now. It's down over 25%. And I think that this is actually a really good opportunity just given how much this has come down. Can it come down further? Absolutely it can. But I think the risk reward here is actually really good. And I think that those earnings should do really well given the demand that we're hearing about as far as renewable energy is concerned. Let's not forget that the government is also on their side here, which also is another tailwind for Enphase. And we look at the chart again, and I'm looking at the RSI sitting at 35. I think we're getting pretty darn close to those oversold situation in which this, again, could be a good risk-reward opportunity for Enphase. We get back up over that 156 mark, I think we're going to be in good shape. If earnings don't go their way and they start reporting a slowing of growth, or there's some sort of issue with their outlook, then I think that we could see Enphase maybe possibly retest down to these 130 areas. So this isn't without risk, and I want to stress that. But I do think the risk or the reward potentially outweighs the risk here, and that's why I like Enphase going into earnings. But let me know your guys' thoughts on this in general. What do you think Enphase is going to do? And if you are interested in Google or Microsoft, make sure you're clicking on one of these boxes here because they have earnings tomorrow as well. And again, I'll be giving my live reaction to those earnings at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time, just before the market closes, so we can watch those earnings roll in. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow.